In the period of exploration and populating the Americas, mariners encountered a phenomenon they called the Doldrums when travelling the Atlantic Ocean. They occurred in the eyes of hurricanes. The air is so still that sailing ships cannot make headway due to the absence of wind. Now, a particular group of people were so sensitive to languishing in such circumstances, they routinely became depressed and tried killing themselves. They were county surveyors, descendants of the squires of the shires of Duke William of Normandy, the conqueror of England, in 1066. And during the era of the exploration and the populating of the Americas, worked there as esquires and yeomen of the king. Now, the propensity to suicide ideations and attempts was well known to the king and county surveyor society, as a society being set up by William on his coronation day in 1066 specifically to teach them suicide avoidance and prevention, to keep them alive for terms of 20 years, as 20 years possession of real estate by them as employees of the king proved his allodial title to the territory in the Americas that he appointed them to estate manage on his behalf. Now, Human qualified at age 7.5 and redeemed apprentice esquires until qualifying as such at age 15. Therefore, they had to be educated and trained in the pedagogy of suicide avoidance and prevention, normally by age 7, and proven in it by 7.5. As William and his squires were Jesuits, this is probably where the idiom, "give me a boy to the age of 7, and I will give you the man," originated. If you read my autobiography, you'll see that I was taught it 6 days a week, every week, from 3.5 days old to 3.5 years old, and I practiced it on my own 6 days a week, every week, from then until I was 7.5 years old. The methods used may seem bizarre, but were effective. I killed myself well over 2,200 times before I qualified as an esquire at 15.5. But then I had 35 years suicide-free before becoming an instructor of the pedagogy at age 50, and I've been coaching and counselling it ever since. Now, the world has moved on since I was taught it. The UN consider the condition as a mental disease. Signatory nations of the UN, other than Israel, do not employ anyone with it in government, civilian or military jobs anymore. The County Surveyor Society has been wound up as irrelevant to the modern day, and I'm the last active surviving member. People come to me suffering seemingly interminable churning ideas of suicide. My job is to keep them alive and kicking long enough to reverse the accident that caused them not to receive the same education and training as I had. I do it by giving them a crash course of suicide avoidance and prevention education and training, avoidance being the temporary barrier that I capture to carry them through to prevention. This lecture is only step 1 in the process to keep you alive while we strip out the suicide avoidance and prevention pedagogy you have been fed and replace it with one in tune with the reality of the modern world as we find it now, and in particular using scientific knowledge and technology formed during the 50 years since I qualified, and I've been trialling over the past 20 years in my coaching and counselling practice. Most of what I'm going to teach you will be new to you, unless you're a member of one of the Facebook groups that joined mine since 30th of May 2014, when the business of the former County Surveyor Society was released from the Official Secrets Acts, or one of my email coaching and counselling clients. I'm going to begin with the worst kept secret of the old County Surveyor Society, as it was made public in 1937 and has been taught all around the world ever since. So I'll use a modern name for it rather than the one I was taught, as I've been informed by one client that the old one was so spooky that she was afraid to use a technique. Right, I've had no trouble using it, as I've used it virtually every day of my life since 3.5 days old, when I wasn't even conscious of what I was doing. Now then, the new name is Mastermind, and was given that name by Andrew Carnegie, the richest man in the USA in the 1930s, and promulgated by his protege, Napoleon Hill, in the seminal classic self-help book, Think and Grow Rich. Okay, you can hear it at that URL that I've specified there. Just click on it. So, I recommend that you pause my audio-video recording until you have listened to that audiobook. It won't take you long, and it will take your mind off thinking about suicide for a sufficient time for your brain to start the process of reprogramming by neuroplasticity the neurosynaptic pathways in your head that are giving you those churning thoughts of suicide. Now, you are going to come across the need to think and grow rich in step 2 also, so you won't be wasting the time in listening to the recording. It will familiarise you with listening to an audiobook, as you'll need to do that again before you finish step 1. The second part of step 1 entails you changing the personal reality that has made you suicidal. These are baby steps at the moment, but will grow into huge strides later in the course. So it is important to start off with a method you will need to make those strides by practicing use of them first. Now that is from the book You Are the Placebo by Dr. Joe Dispenza, which you can get at that URL there. Get the Kindle version, as it can read itself to you. Also, get You Are the Placebo Meditation 1 at that next URL there, or 2 at that following URL there, or both. That is all you will require for the remainder of step 1. Play one or other each night when you lay down to sleep. I'll send you the next email in a fortnight's time to decide if you wish to proceed to steps 2 to 7 by paying the fee for those steps. You don't have to pay for step 1, as its sole object is to keep you alive pro bono, as I've been doing that for thousands of other people in the past 21 years, and see no reason to change that principle. Indeed, you can, in fact, keep yourself alive for as long as you want by just rinsing and repeating step 1. However, if you want to reprogram your mind to lift you out of the doldrums and make your life healthier, wealthier, happier, more secure, and generally epic, like mine is, I advise you to buy steps 2 to 7, as I have witnessed how remarkably effective they can be. Thank you for listening to me. Bye bye for now. Bye bye.